keep up to date with our latest videos, please hit the subscribe button below. Hi there, welcome to this video from racingbetdata.com. Today we're going to be looking at dobbing. For anyone unfamiliar with the term dobbing, it's an abbreviation, so DOB is double or bust. Okay, it's a new feature I've added into the pre-race download file. So I'm going to download the file and give you some example and explanations behind the dobbing calculation. So here we are with the file that's open for today. As usual, we have the race meetings down the bottom on the separate tabs, and then the combined tab, which we're going to be using for the video today. I'm just going to apply some filters to this data set and show you the additional columns. You can see two more added in here. So we have the DOB percentage, which is a trailing record of each horse's percentage of times that the odds drop to qualify for a DOB, and the running total, the profit and loss. Okay, so look at this horse at the top here, Amir Bagatelli. Obviously on the first run it had no percentage and no profit, so we're always looking one step ahead, if you like, when we're recording in this row, and I'm going to give you some examples now. Before I do, just to explain the DOB, as I said, it's a simple calculation. So where a horse starts at, say, decimal odds of 4, you're placing £1 as a back stake on it at 4, and then you're placing a offset bet at 2 with £2 as a lay, to ensure that if that horse drops to 2 in running, you're going to win £1 regardless of whether it wins or loses the race. Okay, so that's the simple explanation behind behind a DOB. Now the way we calculate the drops, as you can see, and always have done in here, are slightly different. So where I've just given the example there of a horse's odds starting at 4 and then dropping to 2 in running, that to the naked eye is a half, but actually the calculation itself is slightly different to do it properly. So looking through some of these examples here, and I'm just going to just explain why that is. If you can only dob on a horse where the starting price is 2.02 or greater, because half of 2.02 is 1.01, and that's the lowest odd increment that you can get. Where we calculate the percentage drops, you can see here in front of you, the calculation is slightly different, and I've just flagged this up here as an example. So if we say a horse's starting price is below 2, and this is where the issues generally occur. If we say a horse's starting odds are 1.8, if you were to half 1.8, so times it by 50%, that would suggest a lay of 0.9. That's not a true odds increment. As I said, with Betfair, it's not, when you're looking at decimalisation, you need to include the stake. So this is the correct calculation to find out half of 1.8. So 1.8 minus 1 bracketed times by 1 minus 50% bracketed divided by 1 and plus 1 is 1.4. So that's how these calculations work to determine what the percentage drop was. But in terms of the DOB, because we're looking, as I said, to put a £1 stake, a £2 lay, the calculation is slightly different, but it can only work where the SP is above 2. So how do we look for a horse that we think is going to potentially drop and DOB for the day? So what I'm going to do is filter for today's runners. And now one approach is the pace. So we have in column L the predicted pace for each horse. So you want to be looking for a horse that's potentially going to start well in the race with a fast pace. So we're looking at 9 and 10 here. Now this is just one approach. You don't have to use pace, but it's obviously a good indicator because you think the horse is going to get off to a good start, and if it holds that lead, then potentially the odds will start dropping very quickly and reach that halfway house that we're looking for. So selected pace, and then we're going to go to the DOB percentage column, And then we want to be looking for anything, basically anything over 50% is going to be profitable long term, or has been profitable in its past. Anything below 50% is going to be a negative. So I'm just going to highlight these top 3 that we've got here. And that only brings up 4 horses. So you can see here that we've got 2 at 100%, the profit and loss of £4, £2, and then we've got a £6 and £3. So we just want to look for the previous races, and as you can see here, these 2 horses they've only run 4 and 2 races respectively, so we're going to filter those out as well. Again, you can include those because it may be a horse is going to continue that trend, but for this exercise I'm just going to look at the horses that have a longer career history behind them. So that leaves 2 horses, Candyberg and Echo Boy, as potential dobs. And then what you can do is look into a bit more detail behind each horse. Is it changing discipline? Is it has it been laid off for quite a long while between races? So we can start looking at some of these conditions and criteria here. So you can see that we've got days since last race 12 and 35, so no real concern there. You can see that whether there are course and distance winners, whether they're class, whether they're stepping up in class, and up in trip. So you can see here that the Echo Boy is actually up in trip since his last race. So you'd want to look at his history and to see if this is the furthest it had won before. And then you can look at the weight change. So you can see if the horse is carrying more or less weight than last time. But let's have a quick look at the Candyberg race history and see if there's any other reason there that we can see that we wouldn't want to potentially dob this horse. So I'm just going to type in Candy. There you can see it's come up already, Candyberg, and that will bring up the full history of this horse. So you can see here it's running at Southwell. Its last 3 races were all handicap chases. 2 of the 3 over 2 miles, which it's running today. Same jockey on board each time. You can see the industry SP, so it's 20 to 1, and then it's predicted SP today, 12 to 1, so decimal odds of 13. You can see here, you know, we're all under 100 in terms of its bet for SP. There's not been a wild fluctuation in its starting price. The last 4 races, you can see there it was 26 to 1 there, but generally under 20, and it actually ended up winning that race. So there's nothing really of any concern that I can see in there. As I've said already, the horse is won over this distance, is not one at Southwell, so maybe a flag, but you know, on face value that looks a pretty decent horse to potentially dob today. Now you've got to bear in mind that although it's profitable, so £6 to the Unit 1 stake, it is only 2 out of 3 times that this horse has dobbed. So you know, there is always that likelihood that it won't, especially if it's over hurdles. It could fall and seat the rider, and those things can't be accounted for. But when you're looking for dobs, you know, putting data, looking at past data, studying a horse's form in detail like this, looking to see if it's switched disciplines or it's running on a ground that it's not run on before, those sort of factors, very quickly using the data can help identify these and eliminate others.